Hello, everybody. Welcome.
Hi, welcome to our October broadcast. Here we are on the 23rd of September, Saturday, back with you again for our energies and opportunities look at the month. So in today's broadcast, we're going to be exploring, of course, through the astrological energies and the human design energies, the effects that they'll have as they're moving through each of the systems for the remainder of September and also for the entire month of October. And October promises to be a really interesting month. We're entering an exciting time. This fall season, we're going to have two major eclipses occurring in October. One that'll bring really significant changes and catalyze transformation in our relationships, our values, and also in up-leveling our co-creative projects. That'll be in the middle of the month, and then one towards the end of the month that will be an opportunity for us to see how to best implement all the new inspiration that we have. So before we get into our content today, just a bit of news of current events here at Evolutionary Human Design. On September 25th, just in a couple of days, we launch our very popular and recently expanded Business Success by Design training. It's an in-depth look at how you uniquely, according to your own design, naturally create success in your workplace, in your job or your career, and also in your business. So many of us have a small business. Perhaps we have a coaching practice or a healing practice, or we're in an advisory role. So knowing what our keys are for individually our own way of achieving success is a huge leg up into the market in terms of how we present ourselves, how we attract our ideal clients, who it is our work is really meant for, and how we call out to them, and how we deliver the work that we do and how we implement it within the business structure. It's a really in-depth training. It's a very popular training, and we only produce it once a year. So this is your opportunity this fall if you're looking at up-leveling your business or your private practice.
And I'd like to say something very particular about this training. You know, normally when you think, oh, we're doing a training, it's a coaching training, and it's a one-size-fits-all thing. This is completely different. This is basically you in your business and how human design incorporates through your design to be able to make you absolutely at home and comfortable in your own business. So it's really quite different in that regard. It's very much tailored for you. So if you're in a situation where you'd like to see a business expand, do join us.
Yeah, and the program we created it to give you a lot of value. It's in addition to your training modules and your workbooks, you're also going to be working with us live in a small group setting via Zoom, in which we will be coaching you on implementing everything you're learning step by step by step through the entire training in order to support you to create more business success. So we'll get in there with you into your particular business and how you leverage your business to grow it and to have it be more successful, not just in terms of financial reward, but also in terms of how much you're enjoying it and how in balance your life can be even while you're running and operating a business. So if you're interested in it, Business Success by Design, go to our website, evolutionaryhumandesign.com. Go to the trainings tab at the top, and the drop-down menu, the fourth one down, will take you to that program. I think it's already ready for you to enroll, but it'll launch formally on the 25th in just a couple of days. All right, are you ready to start?
Yeah.
Let's take a look at the remarkable energies of the latter part of September, and then we'll go into October. So here we are on the 23rd of September, and just yesterday, the 22nd, we had a first quarter moon that first quarter moon at the very last little tiny bit of the sign of Virgo, before the sun moves into Libra, and we have the autumnal equinox. So that happens in some parts of the world, that happens, or that happened last night on the 22nd. In other parts of the world, most of the world, it happens today on the 23rd. We have the autumnal equinox. It's a turning of the season. It's an opening of a new door, and a time of birthing new objectives that'll take us through the next 3 months. In the energy field, the astrological energy field surrounding this equinox, we've got a big grand triangle in the sky, and that's between the sun in Virgo, at the very last bit of Virgo, and even as it goes into early Libra, in a very powerful trine with Pluto, the trine of big planet of big transformation, and Uranus, the planet of upheaval and changes, and up-leveling our consciousness into more fifth dimensional reality. We also have a beautiful Mercury, the planet of communication, and a beautiful flowing aspect with Jupiter, which is the planet of expansion and growth. So we're in a great communication cycle here in the last week of September. And also Venus in a lovely flowing aspect with Chiron. And that aspect in particular, it has to do with how we express our creativity, which we've been working with a lot over the past couple of months. But because it's entering this triangle with Chiron, and it'll be exact on the 23rd, it's giving us an opportunity to see what within us may need to be addressed, to be worked with, to be up-leveled, to go through a healing process in terms of our self-worth, our self-value, our self-love, and our attitudes and beliefs around money, around wealth, and around our capacity to attract the financial flow that we desire. So big changes. Venus then moving into a right angle with Uranus, which is going to require more changes. It's going to challenge the way that we're working with our finances, our budgeting, our spending patterns, perhaps, or our beliefs around what we can attract into our life. But also, this could be the beginning of some big system changes. As you know, probably if you follow the news at all, the banking industry has been in some distress, and some of the financial sectors really suffering. So it's requiring humanity now to pivot into a new way of working with our financial reality. So we're in a time of high innovation, especially high innovation in terms of our communication systems, and also in a time where the potential is to heal any old pain from love relationships and to find balance again, and to establish a new standard of fairness in all of our interactions, whether they be in business or friendship or personal love relationships.
To me, this time of the year is always very special, the equinox in the fall. It basically means we're in one of the aspects of love. There's the life theme we call the vessel of love. It shows up 4 times in a year. And at the moment, the sun now in gateway number 46, and 46 opening up a whole new season. The I Ching is an extraordinary book, the book of changes, and itself, it keeps on changing the whole time as humanity keeps evolving, hopefully in terms of consciousness. And the 46 can be seen in many different ways. I call it the gateway of serendipity, which is being in the right place at the right time with the magical quality, the right attitude. So wherever you are, you're ready for whatever it is that life wants to give you. And so we're in that point in time now where the sun is in gateway number 46. And it opens up a whole new season because all the subsequent gates now for the next month are going to be gateways in the spleen center in the human design chart. And the spleen center having everything to do with health and well-being, alertness, and even our senses of fears about things in life. So if you're clear when the sun is in this gateway of love, the 46, the love of the body, because the body takes you into serendipitous situations, then you're clear in these coming days. It's a great time to be rekindling our sense of health and well-being in all areas of our life as the sun goes through there. Actually, on the 25th and the 26th, the sun moves into the 46.5 and the 46.6, these two lines where it opens up the life thing we call healing. And so we can say, this is the opening to the next month of really being aware on a physical level. Absolutely. Let's look after our body. Let's get in terms of diet and really good things for our body, relaxation, exercise, breathing exercises, all kinds of things that can really enhance our health and well-being, because this is the time for it. Jupiter, I remark on Jupiter because Jupiter, as Carola was remarking, the planet of expansion, it's in a retrograde pattern at the moment, which basically means from our perspective here on Earth, it looks like it's going backwards. It's covering old ground. And it's in a very particular gateway, the gateway number 2, which is the gateway of receptivity. And receptivity gives us the means to be able to access things that we can't necessarily get on a mental level. The gateway number 2 gives us a knowing. And we can't necessarily explain how we know or where this knowing comes from. But all of a sudden we just know. And when we're in that state where something just settles in us, it opens up a whole new realm of possibilities in our life. So again, it's hugely transformational. What happens subsequently with Jupiter in these next months when it turns direct and starts going forward, it starts going through all the gateways in the throat center. And it starts giving us the means to really expand on things that really are wanting to be expressed, where the expansion takes place. So I'm looking at the charts overall at the moment. I'm not seeing massive movements forwards necessarily, but I am seeing this situation where there's a bit of a wave building up. There's a bit of a review of what it is we've been doing lately, and just seeing, look, a lot of things have changed in this last year. Somebody announced this thing called AI and GPT, and all of a sudden the robots are a reality and AI is a reality. And it's something that's going to affect all our lives if it hasn't done so already. I know it's affected my life. Just going around the internet and looking at various things, I can see, wow, the commentary is very, very different. I'm getting a zillion emails now from AI, from robots, from automatic senders of stuff. So a lot of things are changing in that regard. So our lives also. And I'm just pointing towards this time of, as the sun moves through the 46 and, reacclimatizes ourselves in our bodies, and opens up this season of healing and well-being, it's a great time to review and have a look to see, am I lined up for whatever it is that's coming next? Can I allow myself to be in the right place at the right time with the right attitude? Am I fearful? Am I concerned about where things are going? Or am I open to the adventure? And that really is the whole thing at the moment, being open to the adventure.
Recently we were speaking with one of our international groups that we work with, and said that some of the questions that came up in the seminar were about people getting into fear around money, and this sort of climate of contraction and fear that seems to be the case right now. And I was, we were teaching a seminar, so I was trying to give everybody an example of what really can be done to ameliorate the effects of the intense media focus on this is wrong and that's wrong and this is falling apart and this bad thing's going to happen. And
Yes.
and I told them a story of about 25 years ago or so. I did a fire walk. And for those of you who aren't familiar, Tony Robbins began this process of taking people through a day-long seminar in which he taught a lot of the principles of creating the reality that you desire to create. And then in addition to just the information, there was also the actual living demonstration of it. So while he's teaching throughout the day, they're building a 30-foot long firewalk.
Hot coals.
So we're watching outside the coals burning, and and the idea is that we're all going to walk across 30 feet of hot burning coals, red hot burning coals. And you know, if you just look at it from the laws of the third dimensional reality, this isn't possible without getting burnt, right? Badly burnt. But what we were learning was that we actually are the ones who create our reality. And of course, now modern physics has proven this fact. But we didn't have that back then. We just had, you know, opportunities to experience what we could have possibly seen as miraculous. So we did this firewalk. So long story short, we took off our shoes and socks, and we worked with our mindset to just know that our reality was that we could walk across that 30 foot of hot coals and not have any effects, not be burnt at all. And so sure enough, I did it. And I didn't get burnt. I had no effects whatsoever. It's like walking on the ground. So, you know, when you've had an experience like that, and perhaps many of us have had similar kinds of experiences, maybe not that dramatic, but experiences where you've seen what we thought of in the past as miraculous, the miraculous happen. Essentially, what we're working with right now, the humanity is on this verge of a huge scale evolutionary jump. And we've been working on this since Pluto went into Capricorn back in 2008. So this is a 15, 16-year process that we're just now, 2023, the end of 23, 24, 25, we're coming to the conclusion of it. So it can look like Armageddon out there because the old systems are falling apart. They're falling away. They're not working anymore because a new consciousness is emerging, and that new consciousness needs new systems to contain it. So what I want to say is, don't let all the fear mongering out there affect you. Don't let it stop you from following your inner truth and your higher guidance. And don't let fear be the way that you navigate your life, but let possibility, let your inspiration and your truth be how you navigate your life. Now, of course, human design is a fabulous tool for helping you to get in alignment. I love to also look at astrology because I can see the energies as they're moving and exactly what kinds of challenges we'll have coming up and what kinds of opportunities we'll have coming up. So we're coming now to the end of September. So on September 29th, we have a full moon. And what the full moon will do is it brings into expression the potentiality that was expressed 2 weeks before at the new moon. Well, when we had the new moon back in in early September, we were just coming out of the Venus retrograde. As a matter of fact, Venus was still retrograde until September 4th. And for those of you who've been following us for a while, we've talked about that and what that means. It was a review of our value system. Just coming out of that retrograde, not yet already clear about what the learning is, because that's yet to come in the first 2-3 weeks of September, right? At the same time, we also had Mercury retrograde. So we're in a lot of review. Some of my coaching clients are like, you know, gosh, I'm trying to move forward, but it's like, you know, 1 step forward and 2 steps back. It's like, that's the energy right now. So for a time, we've been in this review process, re-looking at things, re-examining things. Now, as we come to the end of September and we have this full moon, it's finally time to actually really move forward. So we have this continued pressure going on from Chiron to heal old patterns and relationship dynamics. This is essential because everything that happens in the world happens in relationship.
No one is spared.
And also to heal, you know, the dynamics that underlie our values, you know, to center our values and choices that we make in life according to those values, to center them in our higher truth instead of just the accepted societal norms, which are all falling apart now anyway. So we also have Chiron, very active. Chiron, this planet that has to do with linking the higher self and the lower self, the fifth dimensional reality and the third dimensional reality. And it brings abrupt and unexpected changes. And those changes in particular to our value systems and our systems of monetary exchange. So we may see a whole new a whole new monetary system beginning to evolve. I think we're just at the preface of that now. As Mercury resumed direct motion, now as we come to the end of September and the early part of October, Mercury further on in Virgo, forming a very powerful triangle with Uranus, and then moving into a powerful triangle with Pluto. So what we have there is high innovation in communications and in how we do almost everything. You were mentioning about AI and the revolution there, but there's revolutions happening in energy, in almost every sector: financial sector, energy sector, health sector. We're having breakthrough after breakthrough after breakthrough with research. I don't know if you follow that from the scientific community, but it's pretty exciting. What's happening right now with genetic editing, and
there's just got to be a breakthrough in politics.
Yes. Well, I think we must be headed for that, because
something's got to give.
We are quite polarized in that way. So we're in a time of business and career and relationship shifts, and the beginning of October, the very end of September, the beginning of October is the powerful time to really implement these changes. So all of this that you've been working on and planning, it's time for the green light and pedal to the metal and go and put everything in motion.
So I'm just going to talk a little bit about the full moon that comes up right at the end of the month, on the 29th of this month. And it takes place, the new moon that Carola talked about was in gateway number 47, which is one of the mental gates. And I was saying at the time, the new moon really challenged us to have a look, see, are we overthinking stuff? Are we expecting our minds to be able to work miracles in terms of bringing us satisfaction in our lives? Or are we just giving ourselves headaches? Oh, this doesn't work, and that's, even if it works, so what? And so this full moon on the 29th is in gateway number 17, which is also a gateway in the mind center. It's the gateway of opinions. And to me, whenever I see the opinions gateway in somebody's chart, there's two of these gateway systems, and the 17 is all about our opinions. So the opinion is very much kind of logical thing of, because of this, then that, and the ideas that come with and through our beliefs in the 11th gateway are, well, what I'm going to say is they're prone to getting stuck, right? That we get a little jaundiced in our life, and we can only accept certain beliefs. Nothing's going to change my beliefs, the 11th gateway. And this full moon in the 17th gateway is nothing's going to change my opinions, except a full moon might do that. It might say, hang on a minute, why so dogmatic about this particular point of view? Why have you been supporting this particular line of thought, regardless, knowing that the circumstances have changed, knowing that the evidence is all showing you something very different? And this applies, as much to judicial systems, politics, as it does to science. Science keeps reinventing itself every second. What is absolutely cast in stone one day, it's the latest white paper and everybody's agreeing and cheering for it. In weeks these days, the whole thing's gone out the window because there's a whole different perception come in. It's the same thing with our opinions. So this full moon at the end of the month now gives us an opportunity to really check with ourselves, where am I stuck? Where am I stuck in my points of view about life? Where am I so rigid about certain things? Why can I only see this particular point of view? The 17 with the third line, it's called selecting, appreciating the best influences for inner growth, right? Inner growth doesn't happen if we're stuck in some particular pattern. I can only live my life in this way. And with the moon there, your tendency to seek any means to obtain results will cause you to miss essential issues. right? You stay dogmatic with a particular thought process, and you're going to miss out on essential issues at this time. I mentioned just recently Jupiter going through gateway number 2, which is opening a whole other doorway of possibilities of inner knowing that has absolutely nothing to do with anything you've ever read or heard or looked at or, you know, been told or taught, right? An inner knowing where you are resonating directly with the universe. So very, very different time this last week or so at the end of the month of September. Well, let's see what happens when we get into October.
Fairly pivotal time, isn't it?
Yeah.
So the next juncture astrologically for us to look at is the third quarter moon, which happens on October 6th. So the sun now firmly moving into the middle degrees of Libra, and bringing up all of the realities of what we tend to focus on while the sun's in Libra, which is the quality of our relationships. We're beginning to anticipate perhaps a holiday season coming upon us, and a time of more socializing and perhaps more family interaction. So the focus on relationship is strong. There's a lovely aspect between Mars and Venus at this time, which can make romance really just quite juicy and lovely. But at the same time, there's some pretty big challenges happening, mainly with Mars in a right angle, which is considered a challenging aspect to Pluto, the planet of big transformation. And that's exact on October 8th, October 9th, right in that period. Potentially, at this point, we reach a turning point in the direction of our work. So the way that we've expressed our work needs to now really fully express our life's purpose. And if it's not doing that, we're going to have to step back and take another look at that. If we're just doing work because, you know, the salary's good or whatever, it isn't going to continue to be something that's going to really work well for us. So we need to be engaged in the kind of work that our soul is called to, and every single one of us has some soul calling. It may be to raise a beautiful family. It may be to garden. It doesn't have to be out in the marketplace or in the business world, but we're all called to some activity. And it's through that activity that we have our evolutionary growth. So what is that activity that life is calling us to? And if we haven't found it yet, then this is the time to be really asking that question. And, if you seek, you will find. If you ask, it'll come. The answer will come. So this is a turning point, a time of saying, if I'm not doing that work that I really love, that I'm really meant to do, I'm going to make a significant change. And if we are, then how well are we bringing grace into that work? So grace needs to be present within us, and how graceful are we being throughout the upheavals that are going on in the world? Because all we have to do is look around us, and there's this tornado and that hurricane and that earthquake, and there's huge turmoil going on in the world. What are we doing? How are we being with that is the more important question. What are we bringing? Are we bringing solutions? Are we bringing healing? Are we bringing light? Are we bringing understanding? Are we bringing context? Or are we just adding to the fear? So this is the big, really quintessential question at this time of this third quarter moon, where we're in the implementing of our new direction. Venus is also in this beautiful aspect that astrologers call the finger of God. That's a yod aspect. And it's called that because it's the one aspect that seems to be more ordained, if you will. And it's in this aspect with Pluto and Neptune. So Pluto and Neptune right now, they're generational planets that have to do with the evolution of humanity. And they're in some very powerful placements between in aspect to each other and also in aspect to Uranus. So even though it looks like upheaval, even though it looks like chaos on the outside, and it can look that way, there is a method to the madness. There is a definite purpose for the way that everything is evolving now. Can we tune into that purpose and get ourselves aligned with it and be a part of bringing that purpose into fruition? Because the drama and trauma that we're experiencing only comes from resisting that purpose, not being in alignment with it. So once we get in alignment, then drama and trauma becomes opportunity and action. And really that action is what we're going for. The moving soul path for all humanity is in the sign of Aries, which is a sign of action. So we're looking at right now the evolutionary purpose of our new directions, and having that through the aspects that are going on here in the early part of October, really having that evolutionary purpose get revealed to us so we see it quite clearly. There's some very bright future opportunities for expansion that are coming, with some lovely aspects with Jupiter as well. But they require us to be aligned with our inner truth before taking action. That's the big message of this time. Venus also coming into an opposition with Saturn, which is basically saying that, yes, we need to allow spirit to inform our choices. And we also need to cultivate, spirit isn't going to do it for us. It's going to inform us. But we're the doers here. So we need to cultivate the inner discipline to really stay true to ourselves as we're implementing and as we're really breaking new ground, innovating. And all of us who are on a path of personal development and soul evolution are the innovators here in this great time for humanity. Third quarter moon, time to get in motion.
So human design-wise, as we enter into the merry month of October, the sun has been transiting through gateway number 18, and it's arrived at the place of the life thing that we call upheaval. And so having established or grounded ourselves or gotten very comfortable in our skin in this last week of the month of September, we finish off the month in this place of upheaval where all kinds of things are possible. And I've been looking at certainly the passage of Mercury. When Mercury did a retrograde, it did it way back in August. And it did it in gateway number 47 with the sixth line. And I questioned at that time, so what if we can work things out? So what if things make sense? They don't make sense for very long because all of a sudden the pattern changes. So essentially, are we overthinking stuff? Are we looking for answers in places that are not going to yield what we're really looking for? And so it did its turnaround, and on September the 30th, it came back exactly to that place where it did the turnaround. And so now it's going forward again through fresh territory and opening up new possibilities in our communications. Venus did its turnaround in July, and it did it in gateway number 29, which is the gateway of basically saying yes. It's the gateway of potential commitment to things. And we can agree about Venus, it's essentially who and what we draw to us, how we attract things to us, whether it's beauty, love, money, pleasure, all kinds of things in life. Or we can also attract to ourselves disaster if we choose to do that. So a Venus retrograde gives us the possibility to review, exactly what's going on in my life, who's showing up, and what's the effect of their presence in my world.
What are the values underlining all of that that's showing up in my life?
And can I bring out this word love and have it really mean something? So Venus did its turnaround in gateway number 29, went into gateway number 4, which was all about, am I really approaching life in the right way? And then gateway number 7, am I just going along with what I've been told and how to play out love because that's how the world spins? And then it ended up in gate 33, which is the gateway of retreat, which was the possibility to kind of really look, wow, maybe there's room for rearrangement here a little bit. The gateway of retreat, like really going inside and finding out why are these things showing up in my life? Why is it like this? And so it did this turnaround September the 4th to come back direct again. And October the 6th, it comes back to where it started this journey in the yes, the 29 in the yes. And so just to kind of recap on this, these retrogrades are really quite potent if you haven't had a few things rearrange themselves without any of your input at all, that would have been the effect of these turnarounds. But just to see, Venus has just been exploring this possibility of maybe we can embrace life in a different way. Maybe we can make our interactions much more important. We're experiencing as we get older, the friends we used to hang out with for days on end, when we were young, and the people that were so important in our lives, it's like now we get to spend a few minutes on the phone with them or Zoom or something or other, and we never get to meet them. So I'm just saying, what has come to my attention lately has been how important certain people are in our lives and how to absolutely not waste a moment in their company. Because when somebody goes out of your life all of a sudden because they die, game over. Like you're not going to have that connection on this level again. So I just feel this Venus turnaround has been very much a review of how we give and receive love, how we are open to that. As the month of October, now we can see maybe you could play this whole thing very differently. And almost right away, we get the Venus interacting with Mercury, which did the turnaround, and we get the channel, the 2946. The 2946 is this channel of, what can I call it? Reaching towards fulfillment, being successful in life. What is a successful life? You've got a big bank account, a big house, a big whatever.
Maybe that's success, but maybe it isn't.
Maybe it isn't. Maybe a real successful life is when you're fulfilled. That you reach the end of a project or you reach the end of a day and it's like, wow, I didn't waste a second. Everything is amazing.
I still love my life.
Yeah. You're nothing like being in love with your life, really.
Even though there's challenges.
And the challenges sometimes can be the greatest part. You're gritting your teeth while you're just watching yourself go through something.
And then you emerge so much wiser and stronger and clearer.
So I do see this very particular turnaround with Mercury and Venus and entering into the month of Jupiter into the month of October, just being open to express ourselves in a very different way, to embrace the people that are so important to us in a different way, and to, count our blessings. Really, it's like that.
Yeah. It's another thing we were teaching about is, how much our beliefs and our attitudes create the reality that we experience, and how easy it is to play with those creation technologies and visualization and all of that when everything's going well, when everything's flowing and we're in this big abundant time and money's flowing and opportunities are flowing. But when we have a crisis or when we have difficulties or when there's a downturn or, when there's big challenges, can we then maintain that clarity of co-creation, that clarity of inner knowing? That's the real challenge, and that's pretty much the challenge we've been in recently, and the one that is being highlighted at this upcoming solar eclipse. Solar eclipse happens on the 14th of October. Eclipses are important because they're turning points for humanity, and for some of us, this will be a very powerful turning point because it's going to occur on or near a planetary placement in our chart. So it happens astrologically at 21 degrees of Libra. And so we've got a new moon, which is an eclipse because the new moon is happening on the soul path for all humanity. So it's awakening us to the soul path. And the solar eclipse is about deep inner changes. And the deep inner changes is about how we relate in the world, how we bring our love and our light, and how we share resources and knowledge and love with others in the world. So taking a really deep look at what relationship changes do we need to make? This eclipse will catalyze relationship changes. And ideally, the eclipse will catalyze us to make the relationship changes that then lead to more fulfillment and balance and more of that ability to appreciate the preciousness of every interaction and of our most important relationships. So it's a powerful time of coming to realize the importance of our relationships in life. You know, my best friend in life died in a very sudden and very frightening way many years ago. And after she died, I was sitting with her husband meditating out, looking at the ocean, and her soul came into our meditation, and basically she had a message for us, and she just looked at me and she said, you know, this is 3 days after she died. She said, you know, the only thing that matters in life is that you love. And that's always really stayed with me, because it's the only thing we really take with us. Everything else that we do or what we accumulate or whatever, you know, it's just dust in the wind. But what we take with us is the love that we've given and the love that we've received. So this solar eclipse is a time of remembering that, and perhaps recommitting ourselves to cultivating more love and more fun and delight and joy in our relationships. So Mercury, the planet of communication, is also joining this eclipse. So we have this big point of realization as Mercury, while it joins the eclipse, also forms an aspect with Chiron, that planet I was just talking about that has to do with the linking of the higher self or the soul awareness with the lower self or the personality vehicle. So that aligning the personality vehicle with the soul's impetus, the soul's vision, the soul's guidance. And so what that creates at the eclipse is this big point of healing, and the healing in old relationship, you know, either healing of issues in old relationships that we need to go back to and heal, or existing relationships, healing any relationship pain that has yet to be fully addressed, released, and forgiven. Because that's the quintessential completion of healing is forgiveness. So it's a big opportunity for us to up-level our being, our light, our way of being in the world, and our way of relating in the world. It's a powerful one. The planet Mars, after languishing in Libra for what seems like forever, Libra not being its absolute favorite sign to be in, because of the indecisiveness of Libra and the tendency to want to people please. And Mars, you know, Mars is the planet of action. It's about getting things done. So it's a little hamstrung when it's trying to please everybody. Now Mars has gone into Scorpio. So that happened on the 13th, 14th of October, here the middle of the month coming up. And when it's in Scorpio, it's in one of its home signs. It's in its power sign. It's also forming a link with Saturn in Pisces. And, you know, the Saturn in Pisces issue really that we've been faced with in this past many months it's a crisis of faith. It's a crisis of belief. You know, what is it we truly, and when I say faith, I'm not talking about religion, I'm talking about inner knowing and really believing in light and life and love and God. And the crisis of faith is, you know, as I said earlier, it's easy to maintain our faith when everything's going well, but can we maintain it in the face of challenges, difficulties, even in the face of pain, in the face of loss? And that's the real test of our faith. So we've all been in this a bit. So Mars now coming in the middle of the month to interact with Saturn, and it's going to help us, it's going to make it become obvious what steps we need to take next, both in our work and in our business life, in order to align with what we know to be our truth and how we bring that into the everyday work that we do in the world. So powerful. As I was talking about earlier, Pluto, the planet of transformation, having been in Capricorn, and you know, the sign that Pluto is in is where the transformation is going to be happening. So Capricorn has to do with systems. So government systems, education systems, healthcare systems, monetary systems, all of our systems that form the underpinning of the structure of society have been going through massive transformation. The old is breaking down, the new is, getting born. So this dismantling of this antiquated world of old systems begins now its last 2 years, which is probably the time when we're going to see the intensity increase. So the
rearrangement,
right? In some religious terms, it's the light in the dark, the coming of the time when the light meets the dark. I don't know if I see it that dramatically, but in a way it is. It's a time when the old systems that supported the old belief and old way of working with life and seeing life are falling away, and we can feel a little bit like out of sorts because the new reality isn't firm yet. So it's up to us to usher in this new reality over the next 2 years. In this period of time, in this season, October, November, into the earlier part of December, is the time when we can make some real inroads with that. And the solar eclipse will be the energizing factor that gets us moving in that direction.
So just to carry on with what you're saying about Pluto, Pluto turns direct on the 12th of October.
Yeah.
I say direct because, Pluto takes 250 years to do a complete revolution around us. So last time it's where it was, the American Revolution was happening, the British were being very unpopular, these kinds of things, and a whole new way of life, was set up in the United States, what became the United States. So my great hope is this particular revolution that Pluto is bringing about now with all these collapsed systems is a revolution in consciousness as much as rearranging all the systems. But anyway, it does its turn, it does it in gateway number 60, and it starts trundling forwards from our point of view, and it moves a little bit more rapidly in this particular time. It's kind of done with the Capricorn thing. Not completely finished yet, but come April of next year, April the 12th, actually, it moves into gateway number 41. And gateway number 41 is a whole different kettle of fish. Gateway number 41 is a gateway with imagination. It's about opening up all kinds of new experiences. Mind you, it only stays there for 3 weeks before it's gone back again into gateway number 60 for its last run around. But it's consequential, as Carola says, these next months, it's opening up that possibility for some really radical things coming into our world. The new moon literally takes place a couple of days afterwards on the 14th. It does it in gateway number 32. This is where this new moon eclipse is taking place. And it's also coinciding with the placement of the nodes of the moon.
Gateway 42, which is the gate of?
Growth and increase. So this new moon takes place in gateway number 32. Gateway number 32, which is the gateway of duration. And I see this gateway of duration as what endures the test of time and what gets thrown out, right? What is it that's functional and keeps going and is worthwhile and holds value? And what is it that you're just done with this thing, moving on? So it does it in gateway number 32 in the first line. The line is called being consistent. Lasting results require a constancy in your attitude. That word attitude I was mentioning right today, with the sun in the 46 as it is this very day. And, right place, right time, right attitude. The world is shifting. Is our attitude changing or is our attitude constant? And the constancy of our attitude to progress and grow and be fulfilled in our lives is what it is that really counts. So this new moon eclipse is really quite important for us to understand that a lot of things are going. And, thank you and goodbye, and moving on, and what it is that's really, really important for us to embrace now as things move on. So in these next days, I'm going to remark again on the 20th of the month, the sun has gone into gateway number 50. It's opened up this life theme we call the laws. And at the same time,
Sorry.
With the Sun in gate 50, we have the Earth in gateway number 3, and it just happens Pluto's still in gateway number 60. So for a few days, we have that channel of mutation, the 360, which is again able to rock our world a little bit. You know, I don't say the news is very well worth watching these days, but you know, every now and again, there's something really potent and relevant that shows up for all of us, in amongst all the riffraff and all the crazy stuff that people think are so important. That there's this inner shift inside ourselves, and just to be looking out for that as we go towards this change, where you're going to talk about going into the month. Well, let's go into the sign of Scorpio. Yes,
right. We're getting ready to do that. I'm going to stop at the first quarter first. So the first quarter moon happens on the 21st of October. This is the first significant lunation after the solar eclipse. That solar eclipse, you know, implemented all these changes, stirred up the energy so that change could happen. And so this is our first opportunity to really ground those changes into some kind of action. So the time to take action on those necessary changes that have been called for by the solar eclipse. And, you know, I mentioned also this lovely aspect between Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto. So Uranus is the planet of awakening. Neptune is the planet of higher spirituality, or, you know, our sense of spirituality. Pluto is the planet of deep and powerful transformation. So we have these three, what we call the outer planets, in this lovely linking energy that are moving in a way kind of behind the scenes, moving humanity to this new evolutionary jump. And what we have at this first quarter moon is the moon and the sun are joining now into this configuration and catalyzing it by forming a right angle, which is saying, all right, we get the vision, we see the vision, the time to take action has arrived. Will we allow spirit to guide us? Because spirit will speak to us, but it won't shout. We have to listen. We have to be willing and receptive and open to hearing the voice of spirit, to feeling the impetus of spirit, to feeling the light of that truth and following it. So what we see here at this around the third week, the beginning of the third week of October, right before the sun goes into Scorpio, is we're still in this process of the dismantling of the old systems. And that actually does go on. There's some foray into the new possibilities, as you mentioned, but we've got 2 years before this is complete. It actually doesn't complete until December of 25. Yeah. So this dismantling of the old systems going on for the next couple of years, and also dismantling not only of the systems, so the systems are dismantling because the beliefs are dismantling. The practices that we used to have in place and the beliefs that informed those practices, the processes that we have in place, are all up for big transformation. And that transformation needs to happen in order for us to implement the new direction that is coming. So it's maybe not the most comfortable time, but it's a dynamic time. It's a time of a lot of movement. It's a time of a lot of possibility. And the more that we can get in alignment with our own inner truth, the easier it will be for us to flow with the very powerful changes that are coming. At this first quarter moon, the way forward, the way to implement the way forward becomes clear. I think that's the main energy of this first quarter moon following the eclipse. And also we've got Venus in a lovely aspect with Jupiter. So these are the two planets that astrologers consider that bring the most benefit and, you know, beauty and light and love and all of that, all the good stuff. And in a lovely triangle energy that brings a very favorable circumstances and those favorable opportunities and circumstances beginning to emerge now here at the latter part of October. That's what I'll say about that.
Well, just as this month comes to an end, we have a full moon on the 28th. This will be the second eclipse in the month, and it'll kind of really record for us, you know, have we shifted our attitude? Have we come up to speed with the possibilities of change, and how we're going to express our love and our connection and our embracing of people around us in our life and embracing our life itself. Mm. I said from this day, today, the 23rd of September, the sun is in gateway number 46, and it's opening up this whole season of the sun going through all the gateways in the spleen center. So right up until Halloween, the end of the month of October, we go through one splenic gate after another, and it's all checking particularly what's our state of health and well-being in life, but also what's our state of fear? What is it we're really fearful about? And there's so many different ways in which we can experience fear. And what is it? False evidence appearing real, FEAR. You know, how easy it is to get up and caught up in things that actually have nothing to do with us at all. And it's imagination and it's speculation.
Especially with the media, all the social media, you know, the fear-mongering and stuff. Yeah.
So I just want to say one thing about this. You know, we're all sovereign beings, whether we remember that or not. We're not here to live anybody else's life. Whether we've been told to or not, we're not. You know, we've got a unique thing going on here. And one of the most dangerous things we can do for ourselves is to compare ourselves to somebody else. Oh, somebody does a better job of life than I do, or somebody's got a better trip than me, or they've got greater advantages, or whatever like that. And I just really see this time all of us are being challenged to recognize our sovereign nature, regardless of what happens on social media or in politics or religion or national, whatever. Who am I, myself, and what's my life all about? And am I here to have a miserable life experience? Or am I going to work on creating the life that is really making me want to jump out of bed every morning? And you know, all of us have things to deal with. All of us have kind of set certain things in our life that we're here to play with and indulge, certain commitments we've made. But there's a lot to be said about our attitude. You know, whatever it is we're doing, are we going to make the best of it? We're going to have fun doing it? We're going to put our heart into it? Or is it just, oh, goodness, here I go again, how miserable it can be? You know? And I know personally from having been really miserable at various times in my life, a long time ago now, I'm happy to say, but it was because I overthunk.
Is that a new word?
I overthunk everything. Just too much thinking. It's like, you know, and you forget we're living in a miracle here, otherwise known as planet Earth. Yeah, there's a few idiots in the place, you know, messing things up. We don't have to join them. We don't have to indulge them. And just to remember that life is a miracle. We won a lottery coming in here. We really did. Massive odds against lottery we won. And we're having this experience. So just my great encouragement for this next time is be very clear what you want to get fearful about, and be very clear about, hang on, who is it that's getting frightened about this stuff, and who is it that's here to explore? Everything is possible.
Right towards the end of the month, on the 28th of October, we'll have another eclipse. Now, we're going to be back with you on the 28th, and so we'll cover that more thoroughly then. But just to say that, first of all, the sun left the sign of Libra on the 22nd, 23rd, depending on, again, where you are in the world, and went into the sign of Scorpio. So now we've got, as we go into the last part of October and into early November, we've got the sun, Mercury, and Mars in Scorpio. We've got Jupiter opposite in Taurus, and this full moon lunar eclipse happens in Taurus, Scorpio. So we're going to see that the issues that have to do with Taurus, Scorpio, which have to do with our values and the way that we need to up-level and transform how we embrace and live our values. We're going to see that coming into high focus, but not until the very end of October, And then that'll be more, become more a theme in the early part of November. We do still have this very high positive flow going on with the outer planets and Venus joining in towards the latter part of September. Venus now in Virgo, in coming into a beautiful triangle with Uranus, and also another flowing triangle with Pluto. So this should bring some highly positive flow of creative energy for new endeavors, and could also, because Venus also has to do with money, could also open up some financial flow that's been a little sort of tamped down while these retrogrades were happening. So we should see that monetary flow begin to open up towards the end of the month. And we'll be back with you.
I got one more thing to say before we end up. And I just really, again, you're talking about Venus. I'm going to talk about Venus. This is really a month for Venus between now and our next talk. And that whole thing about our attitude to love and who and what we draw to us, and are we open to it? The full moon eclipse that takes place, that we will describe in greater detail, happens in a line in the I Ching that I would describe as our nature of generosity. So just something to mull over as we approach that eclipse towards the end of October.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah. So join us if you are inspired to, if you'd like to take a look at moving your business to the next level. Join us in our business success course. You'll see that opening up, and those of you who are on our email list begin to get emails about it, so that you can go and take a look at what we have. We have the whole course outlined there for you, so you can take a look and see what it contains and what the potential value is for you.
Huge.
And and get a sense if it may be right for you. And it's well priced, as we've done with everything this season, trying to keep things within the more affordable range. I think we've got a $500 discount on that program for the fall. So take a look at it. And if you feel called, we will be delighted to be working with you in a more intimate kind of way. And for those of you for whom that isn't the right thing right now, we're delighted to have you in our community. And we'll be back with you next month for our next broadcast.
Very good.
See
Have
you
a
then.
great time. Bye for now.